Welcome to the Reasonably Effective podcast brought to you by myself, Uncommon Fossil, and 10 Types. Wanting to say hello?
Yep. Hello, everyone.
So, last week in the podcast, we were talking about how Paldea Evolved was coming to live, and it did. And live didn't completely break in the process. That's good.
It did
Live
get
is also,
worse, though.
it did get worse.
Yeah.
Uh, I
I
guess
think
not
there are
much.
more glitches than there were before, and I don't really think they fixed like anything meaningful either. So I think there are a lot of you can just like crash out now more, and there's like the collection glitches, and there's some notable card glitches, which we'll talk about one of
Hmm,
those. And I
okay.
don't think they fixed any major card glitches either.
They didn't. No, they didn't fix the big stuff. I have had a few more issues since the update, or at least since Paldea evolved. And on the day Paldea evolved became available, it went out of beta. So, but there was no update for that day, right? The update was a couple days before. So coming out of beta really was just a word game. It usually I would expect a major update. They didn't do that.
You
Um,
can buy Pokemon DHG Live merch though. So
yes, you can
that's
get some.
something.
Yeah, some clothing items, I believe. So I don't know that they're going to get big sales for that, but you never know, right?
Yeah, I'm
They,
tempted.
they
I might buy some. We'll see.
just to be
Interest.
ironic.
Yeah, I don't think it's. I don't know. I'll look at it. I feel like in the end, I believe you get in-game codes as well. So
I think you do, yes, which is interesting, right? So
yeah,
I guess this is the instead of microtransactions, you can buy clothing and get some codes. But yeah, but the game needs work. It's not a beta. That excuse is gone, so it needs to get better. Hopefully, it will. But I don't hold your breath.
yeah. So we're gonna be talking today about the decks. We're actually, I'm on Limitless. I mean, if you're an audio listener, it doesn't really matter. But we're looking at Play Limitless, where we can see the meta for the new format, and
Yep.
the good and the bad. The bad, I guess, is that's already gotten kind of boring. So I don't know how, but people have already started playing like the same lists. Which is kind of boring, but hopefully I'm imagining it will get a little more interesting as we go down, and some new things will be discovered. People will actually try out new decks. But what deck do you want to start off with? Do you just want to talk about the big dog or tiger or whatever?
Yeah, whatever the animal is. I think that's the one that most hype. Chen Pao with Baxcalibur. And there's a couple of different builds of it, I think. So we'll see how
There
much we
are.
get into the.
Okay.
Well, there's I was playing a build and you yelled at me saying that was
Oh
wrong.
yeah, no, I have my the way I like to play is a little different than other people's, but do you just want to look at the first list here on Limitless?
Yeah, because well, part of why it's boring though, I think, is these obviously aren't budget people getting the top new decks, right? To get the new cards, you've got to be spending money,
Well, Chien
and
Pao's cheap.
it is. There's
Like the
yes,
list I'm looking at here, the first list on Limitless is I think 100% free. You do need to get up like one or two tiers on the battle pass to get the second Chien Pao.
yeah,
Maybe you don't get the canceling colognes for free.
right. I already have those. Look, I haven't spent crafted any new cards, and I think I'm at tier 4 or something, and I now have this deck. So
Yeah, I think
yes,
let's look at quickly like the over like the share percent of the meta. So like Chien Pao
okay,
Excalibur is, I think it's only on here once, and
well,
it's over 20%. So that's like really high. But as
right.
we said, it's a new deck and it's very cheap.
Right, it's gotten the hype. It is obviously free on the free battle pass tier 0, and then you get more cards as you go up it. And it pairs in with Palkia as an option and opens up some options. So yeah, but this was the hyped one, right? So this is the one everyone wants to try out.
Yeah. And then we see Ting Lu as well, which is another pretty hyped one that's pretty solid. And then United Wings is the third new deck, and Meowscarada. I believe
Mhm.
those are the only four brand new decks in the top 20. We see what even is Lucario? I don't know. There's some things, but I don't think we're going to talk about like the major ones. So the first list here, right? It plays a 2/2 Palkia, and
Right.
2 Barrel, 202 Frigibacks, 2 Chimpao, Manaphy, Radiant Greninja. So do you want to read out Chimpao and Excalibur?
Yes, since those are the new cards. So Chin Pao, 220 HP and basic EX water type. And it's largely here. Its ability is a big part of why it's here. uh, sh- Chivalry Chill. Once during your turn, if this Pokemon is the active spot, you may search your deck for up to 2 basic water energy cards, reveal them, and put them into your hand. Then shuffle your deck, and you can attack with it. And can attack with for big damage.
I mean, it's a very
Hailblade.
good attacker as well.
It,
It's probably the
it
main
is.
attacker.
Depend. Well, we'll talk about that because it's a little weird. Um, how the deck functions, I think. But Hailblade, it's very powerful. 2 energy does sit and then does 60 times is what it says. You may discard any amount of water, basic water energy from your Pokemon. This attack does
No, not
60
basic,
damage.
about any water.
Oh, it's just water. It's got the water symbol. That just means
Yeah, so it can be
so.
special energy.
Okay.
But if you discard, say, reversal energy, which is could be 3 water energy, you only it's per
Mhm.
card, so that's only adds 60 more damage. Um, and then
Okay.
and then I'll talk about the Excalibur here with its ability that pretty much just says it's a stage 2 water that says as often as you like during your turn, you may attach a basic water energy from your hand to one of your Pokemon. So you can obviously search them out with Pao, accelerate them with Excalibur, and then discard them with
Mhm.
Pao to do big damage. Also, 130 for 3 isn't awful by any means. You will use this. And so, going through the numbers real quick, Excalibur with this 130 will be one-shotting pretty much any Pokemon, any single prizer in Lost Zone box. And
Right.
then it will also, it hits a solid number to like 2-shot or 3-shot stuff, but it's not amazing. And then Pao, in order to one-shot V's, you're gonna need like 4 energy to one-shot.
Right.
V star, pretty much anything you'll need 5, and then a few things you'll need 6 energy to be able to one-shot.
Right.
So
Which is a lot, and the deck can make it happen, but it, it's not, it's a stage 2 with the Excalibur, rare candy. You need a lot of pieces. And in a
yeah.
lot of ways, when I look at this list, the trainers, there's a lot of different trainers with small counts for different piece parts,
Wait,
and it would
what?
make
Not
for
really.
just
I don't know. The one
well,
I'm looking at, there are only a few one ofs.
you have one Iono, one Avery, one Boss in the list I'm seeing.
Well,
Uh, a heavy
yeah,
ball, and a number of two ofs, like two canceling cologne. Like, are you going to hit
but
the
canceling clone's a tech card. Like you don't need that
No, I
often. I
get it.
think two's
Well,
honestly a lot.
maybe it is, but my point is, a deck like this made sense more with the Intelligent Engine when you can get all these like 20 different trainers. You can get the trainer you want when you
Oh,
need it. Now
I think
you're
with Irida
random.
now you get like Irida. In
Mhm.
fact, I'm gonna pull up the second list on Limitless, whatever that is. I'm gonna pull that up. And to me,
Which
this
is the
makes
list you like more, right?
yeah, I think this is a big list I based my list off of, and I played this list a few times as well.
All right.
It
Well,
has
let's talk
4.
about the first. Let's talk about the first list because I think this
Yeah,
is more of a standard list
the
from,
first
from what
one.
I
No, I think
do.
the second. I think a standard list usually plays a 1/1 Palkia. I don't know. There are different ways of running it,
Well, but it plays
but
reversal energy, which is part of what you like, right? The second list.
no, it
Or-
doesn't. No, I put in the
Oh, that
reversal.
was a different.
Yeah,
Oh,
that
okay.
was me.
All right, that was your ad. Okay,
But
now,
we'll talk
all
about
right.
it. So I don't know. I feel like the 2/2 Excalibur is kind of sketchy. Like Frigibax Excalibur, I'd probably like another one.
Hmm.
We don't need to talk about the counts too much, but
No.
I guess
Uh,
some. What do you want to say?
so you have the Bex Caliber, you have the Chin Pao, and then you have the Palkia, right? As the third part. Well, I mean, the other pieces, right? You have Palkia, which can be a 1/1 count in the one deck, a 2/2, which obviously does the V Star 280 HP, so that's kind of tanky-ish for today. These days, Subspace Swell for 2 energy does 60 plus 20 more for each bench Pokemon, so you can get to decent numbers with that. And then it's got the Star Portal ability, which also this deck wants to utilize. Right, once during your turn, you may attach up to 3 basic water energies from your discard pile to your water Pokemon any way you like. So that's a way to, after you've discarded, one of the ways to get them back and get powered up quickly for the next turn, right?
Yeah.
And then Radiant Greninja is obviously, besides the engine piece, discarding some energies to get them in hand. then it does 90 to two of your opponent's Pokemon for 3 energy. You discard two, but obviously against decks, you can take out two important pieces like Curlias or something, depending what the matchup is. So
Yeah.
that's got a place. So those are kind of the main pieces, right? The deck is functioning with.
Yeah, and now I think it's a good time to talk about Radiant Greninja in its place in this deck. Obviously, Chen Pao and Palkia just hit hard damage, but
Hmm.
then you could also have the Radiant Greninja for spread. But then counterplay to that would be Manaphy. So then you play Canceling
Right.
Clone. I personally feel like Canceling Clone isn't useful enough. It's like okay, but I don't think it has enough like worth in the list. I'd rather have more consistency. You can kind of have awkward positions, especially the thinner counts of Pokemon. I'd rather drop a Canceling Clone for more like Frigid backs, a thicker Baxcalibur line.
Okay.
Um, and then also there's the idea of, in this first list doesn't have it, but a lot of lists play Lost City, which pretty much just says when you take a KO, you
Hmm.
get to the Pokemon go to the Lost Zone. And the idea here is
Right.
that you Radiant Greninja, you KO two things, whatever, like I would say two.
Two engine pieces, right?
Yeah, probably two. Yeah, two engine pieces, two Curlias. That happened to me once. Um, you could even Lost Zone Manaphy, which can be good.
Hmm.
But then you just like devastate your opponent's position with Lost City. So
Right.
that's an interesting option. I think that's quite strong in the deck. Um, during certain positions, and honestly, Lost City as a whole is, I guess, a really powerful stadium. Sometimes I saw play in Duraludon, which I didn't really get, but I think in like spread based and versatile decks, I think it's interesting, allowing you to punish your opponents in like unexpected situations.
Yeah, and the second list plays a skaters park, which is a nice stadium for the deck too. Whenever the active Pokemon retreats, put any basic energies back that would be discarded into your hand, which then you can re-accelerate to the new Pokemon with your Baxcalibur, so you can switch out because like Palkia, Chen Pao both have retreat costs of two, so get the energy on, go back to hand, put them back down. In some ways, I would like a higher count of Skaters Park possibly. But
Yeah, I
you
think that's fair. Versus the other one, the stadium played here is Pokestop. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know what other stadiums people are playing. I think it's mostly those. I think it's mostly Lost City and Skaters Park. And I don't know. I don't love Pokestop. It's kind of weird. Um, it does this.
know.
You could run cross switch though, and I think this is the interesting idea with Irida. Of course, you could just Irida for your Baxcalibur plus your Rare Candy to get the Baxcalibur into play, which is strong. But
Hmm.
honestly, a lot of the time you'll already have Baxcalibur or Rare Candy in hand. So then you have options like cross switcher here, but I still feel like cross switcher isn't consistent enough. Um, and then you could have like Luminion. I think Luminion's nice.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think Irida opens up more possibilities for different options, and I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, Irida's a powerful card with a water-based deck like this. Irida makes sense. Some of the lists play very thin lines of Iono and Boss. Some decks play much thicker lines of it. So that's some of the stuff to play around with the counts. Um,
And I think we
as
should
I'm
talk about like the engine. Or do you have something else you want to talk about before the
Yeah,
engine?
well, no, that's I mean the energy recovery cards are important too with this.
Yeah, Superior Energy Retrieval, which is discard two cards from your hand, recover. Oh, up. It is up to four basic energy from your disco pile into your hand. Okay, so I
Yeah.
wasn't sure if it was up to or not up to. And then Super Rod. I think Super Rod's good. I've seen a few lists not run Super Rod or run like thin counts. I think you want 1 to 2 Super Rod to recover Pokemon. And then of course also energies. You could even run
Hmm.
Energy Recycler or regular Energy Retrieval. Um, like energy recovery is very important because you're just discarding energies all the time, so that's nice. And then in terms of engines, there are different ones, but the main one people have I've seen people run are either no engine. Well, okay, so they often play Luminion V, but then like
Yeah.
and Radiant Greninja, which is like the Chin Pow search out the energies, so you can always be drawing the Radiant Greninja pretty much.
Right.
Assuming you're not pathed. But then in Luminion, which is
Yeah.
like okay, but then you can also you can attack with Luminion to get it off the board, which is a nice option. But then I've also seen people playing Barrel, which is fine, because there's the idea that you get the smaller hand sizes when you
Hmm.
play cards like Ultra Ball, Superior Energy Retrieval, and then accelerate all the energy. Um,
Right.
but I've actually liked the Hisuian Samurai, which I think is really interesting, which is actually the same thing as The what is it? The Tinkaton. Um,
That's discard one and draw three.
yeah. So it has a few things. I can't find it. Uh, but his student Samurai here, as you said, discard one, draw three as a stage two. And then an ability or an attack here for Dark Colors. Colors, this does 20,
Mm-hmm.
60 plus 20 more for each energy attached to all your Pokemon, so you can get relatively big damage for a single prizer with that as well. And of course, it's a stage two, so you already have that rare candy synergy. So
Yeah.
it's not that awkward to get up, and also it provides a lot of draw out of any situation because you can get Iridite, you can draw out of that. You can also be in a very good spot and like have a large hand and still draw out of it. And you can attack by using something like Reversal Energy to draw out to attack with it as well. So I like that option.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little more suspect of that just because you're adding another stage two, another need for rare candy. So, just needing more pieces more often to get it going. But Barrel's a little simpler in that you don't need rare candy. At this point with Iono and probably everybody throwing it in their decks, probably even to a higher count than will be used in a month from now, because that's the way a card like this gets used usually. You want to have something to counter Iono late game if you
Yeah.
can.
Especially in like Iono Path, that's a thing. I haven't seen too much of, but that's annoying.
Yeah,
That's why I don't like just the Radiant Greninja. I don't think that's good enough.
yeah, I have been trying some of these decks here. Path has been pretty brutal, and at least 25% of the time, my opponent gets an early path down, and I most of the time I'm doing nothing for the rest of the game,
Uh,
honestly, because you have your few stadiums, you're hoping to draw
I
into
mean, you
them and
do
get
have
lucky.
you can Irida for Lost Vacuum, and most lists play Lost Vacuum. I don't know. I've not actually played against that much Path, but when I have, I've just been able to bump it. That's why I
I
think you want
haven't,
like 3 to 4 stadiums. Honestly, a Lost Vacuum's nice. Um, yeah, I don't know.
yeah,
And also
I
that's
mean,
why you want like a single prize like options. They're also good. You can attack with
right.
Excalibur. You can even throw in other attackers too.
Yeah, but it is obviously reliant on path for Palkia, Chen Pao, Radiant Greninja, so Pat and Luminion. So path, if you don't have a supporter, and then without being able to utilize Luminion V, you get turns where you just are doing nothing for a bit if you don't top deck of the right
Yeah,
card. So
yeah,
I just it's vulnerable to that. I'm not saying don't play it for that. It's also something to keep in mind for going up against it. Right, path maybe even a little more valuable than it was in the past. Like obviously Mew was good. It was good against it, but then Mew started playing it, so it kind of minimizes that. For the Lugia Archeops path could be good, but they only need to bump it for one turn. So I just felt that was of limited
yeah.
value. But up against this deck
And
path,
Gardevoir is also pretty nice. And Ting Lu,
yeah,
which we'll get to later. But then
yeah,
Kyogre, there's also Kyogre that does for
mm,
4 does like a 180 snipe, and then you return 3 in the energy to your hand, which is actually really good. And this Kyogre came out in, did it come out in Crown Zenith?
I'm not sure. So
I think it might have. Yeah, okay. So there's this Kyogre, which is good. I guess I'm not a big fan of it. I think it's like you can include if you want. It's like 180 snipe, kind of like Cramorant V or Negative GX. It's just a snipe on like a Luminion, so that's good.
mhm.
Just having a nice option there. Of course, Manaphy's still like played, but that's up to you. And then Articuno, the one that paralyzes, I think that one's okay. But again, I don't think that's necessary. I feel like you're usually just one-shotting everything, so it's not that good.
Yeah, I mean, if it's kind of a comeback type card in a sense, you're stalling your opponent out while you get things set up with the paralysis, which obviously it's when it hits into you at the wrong time, you're in a tough spot if you don't have any switching cards.
Yeah.
So,
Um,
um,
oh, and
but
then
it's a bit of
one
go ahead.
last card. Bravery Charm, the one that buffs your HP by 50 or basics. Do you think that's necessary?
Right.
I've seen some people play it, but I don't know. I feel like it's not that good.
Hmm. I guess what for Chen Pao mostly
Yeah.
to get it to
It does put you
270.
out of range of stuff like Miraidon and Lugia, which is
Right.
fair, but I don't know. I'm not a massive fan of it.
Yeah, I mean, it takes Maridon, things like was it Raichu? I always get
No,
those
Raikou.
confused.
Raikou.
Raikou takes you out of range of that. Um, so I don't necessarily know that I'd play. Yeah, I don't know that I'd prioritize that because you're mostly attacking. You have evolution cards you're utilizing a lot too, so it's of less value in this deck.
Yeah. But I think we should talk about Ting Lu next, because that's
Yeah.
one of the new decks. Um, so honestly, I haven't looked at lists too much for this. I've seen a little. The
Mhm.
top
I,
list.
I
What?
just want to say here before you get let's start getting the list ready. But the Chen Pao was played 102 times so far early on. Ping Lu's played 15 times, so
Yeah,
there's a huge drop off in terms of plays.
yeah.
That's all I want to
I mean,
say.
after like the first one, this as I said, Jim Powell's 20%, which is just like absurd. It's definitely gonna drop below that. Like that's absurdly high.
Yeah.
Honestly, if people like as people get Ting Lu, that might see more play. Not see anything else. Jian Pao is one of, if not the easiest deck to play right now because you have essentially you have like all the pieces. Um, I don't think any other deck you have all the pieces. Lost only have most of the pieces for free, but not to the same extent. So then there's also Ting Lu here. Ting Lu EX is really interesting and also broken, literally. So it has an ability as long as this Pokemon is in the active spot, your opponent's Pokemon in play that have damage counters on them have no abilities except for Pokemon EX. So Jian Pao and whatever Gardevoir will still have their ability, but
Right.
everything else will have it off, assuming it has damage counters on it. And then you have an attack for 150, 150 for 3, and then put 3 fighting, and then put 2 damage counters on one of your opponent's bench Pokemon.
Hmm.
And then, of course, the natural synergy here is going to be with Hawlucha, which when you play it, you put 2 damage counter on 2 of your opponent's bench Pokemon. And then you also have Gapejar Bog, which says that when you play a Pokemon down from your hand, you just put damage on it, so immediately its ability is off. And the one thing I
Yeah.
want to say is that it doesn't work. As in it's broken. It's
Well,
too
it
well.
works too well,
Yeah.
right?
As far as I know, I haven't actually played against this deck, but I've heard numerous times that it works from the bench as well. It's only supposed to work if it's in the active, but apparently it works from the bench as well. So that's kind of overpowered. Um, I don't know if that's true, but as I said, I've heard that from a number of sources. So that's kind of
Yeah.
overpowered. And you need to keep that in mind when you play with it or against it. That's an option, and that's very good. And then it also has Koraidon EX, which has an ability that accelerates energy and ends your turn, so you can use it on the first turn. And then you play something like Squawkabilly EX, which is a solid draw option turn 1 to hopefully get your Koraidon off turn 1 all the time.
Hmm.
But honestly, like energy acceleration is kind of hard. You do have Raihan, Gutsy Pickaxe. You got your favorite Clay Doll if you want to play that.
That's
I wouldn't
right.
really recommend that.
No,
And then you also
I wouldn't put it in this deck now.
yeah, and then you also have Radiant Alakazam to move damage counters around. Allow this to play Spiritomb for disruption. But very simple, straightforward Pokemon counts, mostly Tingaloo, Hawlucha, Koraidon. But I think this deck's okay. That's my opinion on it.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem like the strongest deck around.
It does seem like very relatively straightforward ability lock, though. It's not quite as good as Galarian Weezing because they need damage counters on them, but it's almost as easy. Especially if it's an
Right.
ongoing ability, it's pretty easy.
Now, hang on. So the Tinglu, okay, opponents Poke. It's only affects opponents Pokemon, and okay, and only with damage. So, yeah, I was also as you're reading talking about before, part of why um the Chen Pao probably plays canceling Cologne is to combat Tinglu. Of course, if it works from the bench too, then that doesn't help out, but it's not supposed to do that. So, because obviously
Yeah.
that's a problem for the deck too.
Yeah, I think Canceling Clone has a number of uses in this format. Also, you can path the peak to turn off Tinglu's ability. Of course, that'll
Right.
turn off your own abilities, but not necessarily all of them. It depends exactly what you're running. If you're running a deck um,
Well, like your
like backs
Barbaro
Chin Pao,
engine,
yeah,
right?
yeah, like Chin Pao backs Caliber, honestly, you can just play Path. I mean, you probably don't play Path in that deck, but you could play Path for this matchup, and that would be good. I don't know. I feel like this deck's solid. It doesn't have I don't have too much to say about it.
No, I would think. I mean, and Gutsy Pickaxe is a card I played with. It's just not overly strong. So anything using that at this point, kind of suspect. It seems like more of a control deck. Maybe at some point will come out with this rather than these attacking builds. But
I mean, I think it's already a pseudo control deck, because it's mostly focused on that aspect of like the bench damage. We see Dino Tree Hill in this list, and Penny, and like Bravery Charm to be very tanky, stop your opponent from healing as well, which is
Yeah.
kind of interesting. And then I don't know, like this one list plays Clef Key to be extra disruptive.
Hmm.
Lake Acuity to reduce damage. Honestly, I might like the Rocky Chestplate. I think the one that says your fighting Pokemon take less damage over Bravery Charm. I think
Right.
that's a bit more useful. Not as useful in avoiding one shots, but more useful in surviving long term overall. So yeah, I don't know. I think the deck's solid. Also, you can attack with Koraidon, which is just 220, which isn't bad. Of course, then
Right.
you're breaking the ability. Well, you're not actually breaking the ability lock, so I suppose it doesn't
Right.
matter.
You're supposed to be breaking the ability to lock.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I guess at some point, is there a hit and run attacker you can put in the deck, right? That would be one way to go
yeah.
too. But
Which is, of course, assuming the glitch is still there. Um,
well, no, if you hit and run, then
oh yeah,
you
hit and
send it
run. You
back
go
up
into
the active
Tingaloo.
at the end of your turn. So
Yeah, so you can hit and run. You can do. There are some options, but I don't think any of them are that good. You can do
no.
Dunsparce or like No, not Mienshao or something.
Good. Right. You can attack with Lumineon and shuffle back in your deck. That'll
You
set up
could.
smoothly, I'm sure. But like you were saying, it's an okay deck, I think. It doesn't seem, something to mess around with. It doesn't seem like a great deck at this point to me.
Yeah. Do you want to move on to another new deck, or do you want to talk about like other existing decks with upgrades?
Um, there's just like those other two decks you mentioned that were new, right?
Yeah.
You
So
want to hit those
United.
briefly?
Yeah. Let's talk.
United Wings.
Yeah, and I'm gonna double check if there's anything else that's like new and interesting. We can talk about Fortress. I don't really think we should talk about that. I'm gonna look at what that is real quick to see if it's anything interesting. The people playing it did not do very well. Okay, it's the Fortress control deck. That's not very good. Yeah, these decks aren't the best thing in the world. Um,
Yeah, which is fine. I mean,
wait,
obviously more.
okay, I actually no,
Go
no, no.
ahead.
Let's look. Go just find Fortress. I wanna, and then look at the second list. It's crazy. They went
Okay.
0-1
Or
drop, but it's crazy.
all right. So there's two people played it. One went 1-2-0. One went 0-1. So this deck not a top pick, but let me see. Okay, deck list.
With
Open this
unknown V.
image.
So read
Okay,
unknown V.
what's unknown? Okay, I got to remind myself of that one. So unknown V, a basic psychic Pokemon, 180 HP. It has two attacks: Shady Stamp for one psychic, 30 damage. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now confused. All right, I'm not getting too excited about that. Let's see. Victory Symbol, three colorless energy. If you use this attack when you only have one prize card remaining, you win the game. Oh yeah, let's go with that. That's
So you can KO yourself and then win. I don't know exactly what's going on in this deck, but honestly, that idea seems really funny, and honestly, not that bad either.
you got to get the energies on though, right?
Well,
Oh, and they
but
don't play.
Fortress,
Oh, Fortress powers
yeah,
it up. So once you're,
Fortress doesn't just KO itself; it does get 5 energies into
I
play.
keep forgetting that. Yeah, you're right. From the deck, right?
Yeah, it's actually a very
So
strong effect. This is really interesting.
it is.
This might be the deck I'm gonna be running soon.
Yeah, I'm looking at like they only play seven basic energy.
Well,
So
you
is
only
that
need
enough?
three.
No, I know. Maybe that's so. The key thing is your opponent has to take a
Yeah,
prize card, a
yeah. So
single prize
you put
card.
Diancie in the active.
Yeah. Okay. They have Pidgeot V, which
Yeah,
makes
you
your
might
deck
need another
infinite,
mana
nice
fee.
and
Also, I don't know what this Tauros is here for.
what's that
Um,
do? Two energy.
it's kind of weird.
It's weird. It confuses itself too, which is very odd. Oh, wait, but here maybe look. So Tauros does 80 damage with takedown for two, and then it does 30 to itself. So maybe it's a way to knock yourself out if your opponent won't do it for you. You have to just attack enough. So maybe with this deck you
Yeah,
want to get
but I don't
some
know.
other.
That doesn't seem
But
great.
no, but there are obviously Pokemon that attacks that hit the bench, right? Your own bench, because you do need to get to that odd number. So maybe if you could force that when need be,
You
you
could
want that.
do. There are other ways. You could do
I
this
think there's better options than
Slowbro.
that.
I don't think there's anything that just KOs itself though as a single prizer. But I don't know.
No,
I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna try this deck. No, I'm gonna
it
change
is
the list, but I'm gonna try
interesting.
it.
But I
Yeah.
don't expect it's going to become a top meta deck,
I
though.
don't know. Honestly, the idea looks kind of solid. Like it's weird,
It'll
but it
be
looks so
fun,
good.
and it's a good video idea for
It's
sure,
a
too.
perfect video idea.
So, all right. So we ready to talk about United Wings now?
Yeah. Wait, can Fortress EX blow itself up from the active?
I think it can. I
Yeah. Okay.
closed it up. I'm pretty
Yeah, it can.
sure
I believe it can.
because Fortress is one of it's that's the other deck you get in the Battle Pass, right? Maybe we can make mention. I'll make mention of that. You got the Chen Pao, which you get a
Which is
nerfed
the
version,
free one.
free one, and then you get more as you go up the next tiers, and then they give you the Fortress in the the premium one, but which starts with just this awful deck list to start with. But at least you get the
Yeah.
Fortress, which gives you fun options like this.
Yeah. Like I was playing against someone with Fortress EX and like some other attacker, and then they like blew up two Fortress on the second turn of the game and gave me four prizes. So that was surprising.
Yeah. Well, and they didn't IONO you, did they? Which is what they
No,
should
they did
want to do.
not. They just they got 10 energy in play though. So
They did. And then you probably had like 10 cards in hand and you just won, right?
yeah, I just won on my turn.
So all right.
Anyway, so United Wings here, named after or inspired by the airline company, so that's kind of interesting. But we see that pretty much it's Mad Party or Night March, but it says does 20 for each of your Pokemon you discard that has United Wings. There are three of them. One's Lightning, attacks for two colors. One's Dark, attacks for one dark. And one's here is Flamigo colorless, again attacking for two colorless. Instaflock with its ability when you place Pokemon from your hand onto your bench, you may search deck for up to three Flamigo, aka the rest of your Flamigo, reveal them, put them into your hand, and then shuffle your deck, presumably to be discarded by like research or something.
Yep.
And then also the two ones of not colorless have 60 HP, so that's not good, but it's not the worst. We've certainly seen lower in the past. And then
Right.
Flamigo has 110 HP, so that's like fine. That's definitely
Well,
passable.
as long as they want you, I would have liked 120 a lot better though, right? So you're not getting one
Yeah,
shot by
you're getting one
Cramorant.
shot by Cramorant. It's not the best HP, but you're not getting two Flamigos one shotted by a Sableye ever, so that's good.
Right. Obviously, once they get their 10 in the Lost Zone, Sableye taking out your two Wattrels or Muckrow. So that
Murkrow.
you guys got to, or Murkrow, sorry. And then the
If you
deck
played
list
if you
play.
played VGC, you know it's Murkrow. It is
Okay.
the best Pokemon in the VGC, I believe, right now.
Is it? Okay. Um,
Um. So
and then
anyway,
the
what do you
and,
have to say?
and like let's see, I'm looking at a couple at a list here. It plays Ditto. I imagine they all would play Ditto. Which copies the attack of basics. These are all basics, and that way you can get all 12 in the discard pile to up your damage. And then, Curly Engine probably is this one I'm looking at, which certainly
Yeah,
makes
yeah. I'm
sense
looking
for
at the top
discarding.
two lists. The top list does actually run Galarian Moltres as well, which is kind of interesting. It is a dark
Hmm.
type attacker. I really like the deck that the fact that you can attack with either the dark energy or double turbo energy, giving you some versatility. Also, the weakness types you hit are very solid. Um, and then we have like the Squawkabilly EX and Research and Curlia to discard, which is very efficient. But then the Galarian
Right.
Moltres here are dealing just like very solid damage on the essentially the last turn of the game. But honestly, so is
The Muckrow too with dark type.
yeah, any of them. So are the Wings of Union guys, are United Wings guys. So
Right.
yeah, it was
Uh,
translated as Wings of Union a lot of places. So that's why I keep saying that. But
yeah.
I don't know. I think it's okay. I think
I,
the deck's solid, honestly.
yeah, and obviously it's a type of deck that's appealing to people, right? People really like Bad Party and that type of deck. So this is the spiritual successor to, although obviously you'd like a fourth Pokemon to get the damage numbers up. So the
Yeah.
typing obviously is better now
Yeah, I
than
think
it
this is
was.
better than Mad Party. I'm not sure if it's better than Night March. It probably isn't, but I think it's better than Mad Party. Um,
Hmm.
and then
I,
also have you looked at the second list on the list, which runs Radiant Charizard and Luminous Energy? Um,
Yes, yeah, the play Luminous Energy, which also obviously you can use for Muckrow also.
Murkrow.
Murkrow, sorry, I
That's what
will.
you
And then
said.
you
That's what
can,
you said.
okay. And you can attack with Curly and Ralts too. So getting
Yeah.
excited.
You
But
can
yeah,
even
it's
play the
there
other
for
vaults and like attack with that, which I don't wouldn't despise.
the memory one, memory skip or
Um,
whatever it's called.
yeah. Um, and then let's see. Oh, collapse dam. I think collapse dam's good for moving the squawk ability.
Hmm.
And there's not that much to say about this deck. Research, squawk ability, curly, yeah, just good. And ultra ball, good for discarding stuff.
Hmm.
Pokestop
I
is
d-
also solid here.
yeah, I do just want to read off the Squawk ability. We talked about it last week, but it's a new card in case someone's doesn't not remembering it. Squawk ability EX, a basic EX 160 HP. So a squishy Pokemon, I would
Yeah,
say.
essentially the weakest multi prizer we've seen since the Den GX, pretty much.
Right, and this is a new nerfed version of the Dene GX is what we have here, I would say.
Yeah.
Because
Although
it
it
only
does
worked.
work, you don't need to search it out with Ultra Ball. You can just put it straight onto the bench with Nest Ball or Battle VIP Pass, so that's nice.
Right, right. They tweaked the ability, I think, partly because it's a nest ball format, not an ultra ball format.
Quick Ball.
Oh, quick ball, sorry. Because it's squawk and seizes the ability. Once during your turn, you may discard your hand and draw 6 cards. You can't use more than one squawk and seize ability during your turn. So you can only use it turn one. So that's how it's nerfed compared to the Dene uh, GX. But similar to it. And obviously, a deck like this that wants stuff in the discard, it makes sense for sure.
Yeah. So I think it's good. It's seen play on a lot of lists. It's pretty good. And then it's something you want to get off the field though. So that's why something like
Yeah.
Collapse Steam's
Well,
good.
right. This one list plays Thornton. That's a way to get it out of play too.
Yeah. Um, yeah. So I don't think there's too much to say about that deck.
No.
I mean it's good. It's not amazing. And then Meowscarada is apparently the last one. A few people played that. 7 people. This one also got a lot of hype. Meowscarada EX here. This first one actually plays an Arceus. Surely one of them plays Serena, right? Or not Serena, plays Soon Lilligant. That does not. Anyways, Meowscarada EX is pretty simple here. It's I don't know if I say simple, but stage 2, its ability says you can discard a basic grass energy from your hand, and then put up to 3
No.
damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon.
Hmm.
And then you also have an attack here for 2 colorless. Keep in mind, it is a stage 2 and 310 HP. But it does 100 for 2 colorless. And if your opponent has any damage counters on them, if they're active, you do 120 more damage. So it's solid. We see it running double turbo energies to pay the attack. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
pretty straightforward deck, but it's kind of like if you're familiar with the Decidueye GX, it's like that, or the Pinging Inteleon, or even Inteleon VMAX. It's like, except you want to play defensively, but I'd say Inteleon VMAX is just kind of better.
Yeah. I mean, two things to say. First off, looking at 7 people played it, like you said, only one person had a winning record, and that was at 4-3. So not a lot of plays, but very
Oh, the
suboptimal
one person went 1-0.
result. Oh, did that? Sorry, I didn't look down. Okay, they won a game and they quit to keep their record perfect, I guess. So,
Yeah.
um, so,
You can also use
um,
Metacham V, Hisuian Lilligant V Star to search him out, which is like good, but it's not that good.
yeah, and the ability here only pings the bench, and you want to hit into the active. So then you need another piece, and like Raiden Alakazam to move the damage counter. So that's definitely to me another drawback too with the
Yeah,
deck.
definitely. So it is what it is. I don't know. It might be the best of this new like stage 2 EXs, but it's nothing amazing.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean it's early days. Obviously, mess around with it, see what you can get. But
yeah. And then one other deck I want to talk about that's mostly new, I think, is Zoroark Box. And actually other as well. Okay, I want you to take a look at something. Other? I believe yes, the top list.
right,
And I was very confused by it. I
all
think
right.
it's a
I'll open his
glitch,
image
or they
here.
submitted the wrong list.
Okay, so what's the issue? Just to so we don't waste too much
It's the
time.
one with the Dracozolt, right?
Right. Yes.
But
Yep.
I
For
think that's supposed
Dracozolt.
to be Zoroark.
Oh, Dracozolt, the
Like
basic.
it looks like a Zoroark list, right?
It does, right. It plays the aura, and it's got a bunch of different stage ones to get into play that you can't get into play otherwise. So yes, I assume it's a Zoroark list. Correct. So
And
somehow that they should, instead of for Dracozolt, it should be for Zoroark. I
yeah.
have to assume.
So I don't know. And then they apparently won though. Like they did solidly. So I don't know what like happened here. I'm wondering if it was a glitch with live. If it's a glitch with limitless. Um, but yeah. Anyway, so this is a Zoroark list, and I want to look at
Yeah.
Zoroark. Actually though, just the top list and actually not the second top list. I don't know. Just like Zoroark list in general.
Hmm.
I've lost the list. There's some list I was playing and I lost it. It's the one that went four,
All
three,
right.
and one. And I
Okay,
was
that's the
playing.
third one here, which I've
Yeah.
opened up here.
But
So yeah,
honestly,
four.
any of them. Zoroark, of course, is a stage one that turns into other stage ones, allowing you to have a toolbox of attackers. This list in
Right.
particular runs 4 luminous energy and 4 reversal energy. Luminous energy
Yeah.
provides energy of any type, assuming it's the only energy attached. And then
Yep.
reversal energy provides 3 energy of any type, assuming you're down on prizes and it's attached to a single prize evolution.
Right.
So, or non-Roblox, I should say. And then that which is pretty much all your Pokemon. So as long as you're down on prizes, it's very good. And then I suppose the best new one is the Titan here, which essentially just does 220 damage for a reversal energy, and it is a water type, and it has 180 HP. So it's a very like
Yep.
scary attacker to deal with.
Hmm.
We also see stuff we've seen before like Slowbro, but then Mismagius to spread is solid. Electivire is also a spread option. Hisuian Arcanine
Hmm.
is a solid attacking option. And you can even attack with the Glade as well. So I don't know. I feel like Zoroark's a cool deck. Still, Flapple's good. You can play Oinkologne EX. Um, there are other options too. But yeah, I don't know. I think Zoroark's even better now than it has been before with Reversal Energy now.
Yeah, it gets a lot more interesting, but I do like seeing a card like the Miss Magus, so that if you're not behind on prizes, you can still do something, right? Because you don't want to, if your
Yeah, I'd say
opponent is a
like
single prize deck and you can't attack once you get down to one prize because your opponent's down to one, that's not good, right? You need a way to figure
yeah,
it out.
and stuff like Flapple you can attack with always. The one thing I don't love is Slowbro. I mean, Slowbro is actually very good, but says you can only use this if your opponent has exactly one prize remaining. Take 2 prizes. You're kind of assuming that you're going to be at 2 prizes, but there are times when you're at 1 prize and your opponent's also at 1 prize. When using this could be nice. So I'm not sure how I feel
Right.
about this, but I have played this list and I've won with it. It's really interesting. And the Melmetal as well here with its attack that says 80 during your opponent's next turn, prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by Pokemon that have an ability. We've seen this on this effect on Alolan Vulpix V-Star, and it's
Hmm.
very very good. Yeah, I think this Melmetal is really cool and a nice addition.
Yeah, I mean, Zoroark with the new special energy, luminous energy, reversal energy opens up stuff. Decks like this are a really good way to kind of take advantage of the new possibilities.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, and then the weird Zoroark list that wasn't Zoroark because it ran as Dracozolt V deck.
yeah,
I don't know if you saw
right.
that, but the Trevenant here is
Briefly.
interesting. With this ability, if Elder Tree Barrier, if this Pokemon is knocked out by damage from an opponent's Pokemon V, that you don't take any prizes for it. We've seen this
Mm.
on Jinx. And it's kind of like a worse version of Miltank or Mimikyu, right? Because you're not immune.
Okay.
But then instead just like have this set up with Zoroark and then attack now with Giga Impact 150 for reversal energy. So I actually like that a lot in certain matchups, although Pokemon V aren't that popular.
Right. I mean, yeah, it's less useful now, obviously, than it had been. And particularly now, everybody wants to try out the new cards. So the EXs are going to be probably overplayed to how they will be in a few weeks, I suspect.
Yeah. But do you want to talk about some of the other decks now that aren't new decks?
Yeah, I think we do. I'd like to. And why don't we talk about the Lugia Archeops? Because it's fourth in overall plays, but when you look at win rates, let's think. I think it's got updated recently. So it's a
Ooh, best
56.
decks of Reggie's. Let's go.
Is that the top win rate right now?
Yeah.
Reggie's. Yeah, two
I
plays.
don't really think we need to talk about that one though. I still think it's bad.
I mean, it's improved from where it was, but it was not good before.
Yeah, it was
So I mean,
unplayable.
right. So I mean, look, I'm glad it's coming back as an option. I don't know that it's going to be all that strong though.
Yeah, I don't think it's amazing. But anyway, so Lugia Archeops, of course, Lugia putting Archeops into play with its V-Star power, and then Archeops just
Yep.
accelerating special energy. And now we're seeing going back to, I guess, the colorless build, although not with powerful colorless energy now, but with Snorlax doing 180 for 3, and then Weirdeer
Yeah.
doing 40 plus 40, or sorry, 40 for each energy attached to it, which is very
Hmm.
solid. And now we have Jet Energy, which has synergy with Weirdeer, which essentially switches it in, and Therapeutic Energy having synergy with Snorlax, allowing
Yeah.
it to wake up from sleep, which can be impactful because Snorlax's relatively large HP is nice, but if it just stays asleep, then that's annoying. And then new Luxray Reversal Energy has synergy with that. Essentially, if
Hmm.
you're down on prizes, you just can hit Lightning Weakness, which is nice.
Yeah, right. So for the mirror or something, it's good there. The deck plays, and these top two lists, they both play Bravery Charm, which makes sense. That's the tool like Cape, right? For basic Pokemon, gets 50 plus HP. So that obviously is nice for the Snorlax and the Weirdeer in particular, hitting with those. So making them reasonably tanky there. I'm looking at the list aren't playing like Sharon's Care, which I would have thought with a colorless build, you might play that to get those colorless Pokemon out of play when you want to. So that surprises me on
Well,
that.
yeah. I don't know. I feel like they're trying to be, I don't know, boring. Honestly, I play the deck some. It's okay.
Hmm.
Gift Energy is like good. It's much more consistent than the single strike build that you can like definitely whiff a lot.
Hmm.
I don't know. I'm gonna look through Limitless, see how many are the colorless versus how many are the single strike.
Right.
Um, it
I mean,
looks
the
like
colorless,
most of them are colorless.
yeah,
Oh wait, I've let me see. So a bunch are colorless, a few are single strike. Although they are playing some of the like the new engines, unsurprisingly. Um, so yeah, it's mostly the colorless build. It's something kind of new, so that
right.
makes sense.
Right. It's the new thing. In a few weeks from now, which way is it? Is it more if the colorless build isn't as good, people will have given up on it. So I liked the colorless option with the Lugia originally, although it certainly was inferior. So quickly it was given up on. But it gives you options that you don't otherwise. So it's kind of a fun way to go with it. So
Yeah, and then I also want to talk about the Gardevoir decks.
yeah.
I've been kind of keeping up, but not entirely. So there actually looks like 3 builds. Gardevoir Mewtwo is just the same old thing that we've seen before. But so we see the regular Gardevoir, which is now running 1 Reversal Energy as like a nice addition to buff the damage of Baby Gardevoir, which
Hmm.
kind of makes sense. Sometimes you're even playing
Right.
Luxray, which you can tech in, of course, with the Reversal Energy, which is kind of interesting. Um, and then you also have a deck called Reversal Gardevoir. And honestly, I don't know what this deck is. Ooh, it's not doing that well. It's
That's a separate listing on the Limitless, is it?
yeah, it's the
Oh, I see it. Yep. It's the ninth most played at 14 plays, like a 40% win rate. So,
yeah. So I know I have actually seen this deck. It might just be this one specific list that saw play. Yeah, it looks like everyone's running the same list. This is a list that saw it play, I believe, at a Japanese tournament. I guess there are a few like minor tweaks, but
yeah.
it has Mewtwo V Union. It plays this Gallade to punish something. Um, but like all the lists look the same. But I think it's just people copying a Japanese deck list. It does run 4 reversals, which is kind of interesting for a Gardevoir. You can attack with the Gallades, and then it does play Mewtwo V Union, so you can kind of fall behind early, and then
Right.
like come back. But I don't know. I don't think this list is particularly amazing. I think it's just people copying someone to the point where so many people have copied it that it's gotten its own spot on Limitless.
Yeah, it's popular enough. Yeah, Gardevoir with the Mewtwo V Union wasn't a great. It was an option, but not the strongest. It does play the new stadium, Artisan, if that's the right
I think
pronunciation.
it's Artist but
Artisan.
it doesn't
Okay.
really matter.
Just just want to make mention of that, which is a nice stadium. Once during your turn, each player may search their deck for a basic Pokemon that doesn't have a rule box and put it onto their bench. So that's quite useful for a lot of decks. So that should start seeing more play, I assume.
Yeah. Um, and then it's honestly good in like pretty much every deck. So the only decision is like, does it help my opponent more than me? But don't worry about that.
Right.
And then next up, I think the only other deck I want to talk about is probably Lost Zone, right?
Yeah, Lost Zone. What, don't you want to talk about Mew and all the big changes for
Whoa,
that?
I don't. Has anything
I'm not
changed with
sure if there's.
Mew?
I
I was
actually
like
don't know if
looking at
there
some
are.
lists. I
So,
haven't like seen it. If they're playing like I
I
don't know now, sometimes.
right, maybe that, but yeah, that you wouldn't really do much with that. So yeah, I think Lost Zone would be the last thing to look at, which is obviously a major deck. It's just the play number. It's the third most played deck, 49 plays. So kind of you have the Chen Pao at the top plays, and then you have Gardevoir Lost Zone kind of the next set, and then it drops down to Lugia Archeops with a noticeable drop to that, just in terms of number of plays. And just Lost Zone, the win rate's about 45%, but there's different builds, and decision making is always critical with Lost Zone. And bad decisions do lead to bad results.
Yeah. And it's also one of the decks that seems to be more prone to like connection issues where you just can't like play all your cards or search all your cards.
Yeah, I've had more problems with that deck than others, I will say.
But anyway, so it looks like the top list here runs pretty much the same thing. You do have Jet Energy to give you essentially an extra switch, which is kind of nice.
Hmm.
This list runs Dragonite, Raikou, Kyogre, which is like a thing. I don't know. It's not my favorite build. Honestly, I like the Charizard, the Radiant Charizard build. I think that's kind of nice. Um, and you can have like pseudo control based stuff as well. This list is actually running Miltank instead of Mimikyu, which is surprising. But I think you could run Mimikyu in the deck pretty comfortably. Um, and then you can also run, well, let's see here. You can run dark stuff like this list here. The one runs Glaring Moltres and Snorlax. Snorlax is obviously a pretty common inclusion. And then you can also have this one. Oh, this one actually runs Copperajah EX. So Copperajah EX, I'll talk about it pretty much. Well, okay, it just like has lots of HP, which is kind of an interesting inclusion.
Right, 300 HP on a stage one EX, so that's super tanky.
Yeah. So like I don't know, that's kind of interesting. Because you can do metal with Zamazenta. So there are ideas with that. Oh, wait, no, is that the same list? That might have been the same list. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's kind of interesting. It's nothing crazy new, but it looks like people are just like copying the same list over and over again. But yeah, I don't know. I think Lost Zone's like pretty good.
Right, it's
Um,
looking. As I'm looking through, it's pretty. Yeah, I mean, it's a good deck, right? It's looking pretty boring. There's not much new stuff at all. I would have thought, like with Snorlax, you might want therapeutic energy,
well, but
but they
you're
don't.
not like living that much, and you play like so many switches anyway. So
I guess so. I mean, yeah, I guess maybe. Um, yeah,
not
there's not.
convinced.
I'm not convinced, but maybe they're right in not playing it. Do you want the was it reversal energy? That's the one that counts for three, right? Like when you have Copperajah, do you want to put
Well, no, it's an
reversal?
EX.
Oh, that's right, it's the EX. All right, right. So no rule box for that.
Mhm.
You're right. So that wouldn't make any sense at all. So you just
Yeah,
utilize the
it'd be
Mirage
silly to
Gate.
say that, right?
Well, yeah, it would be too good then, I suppose. Um,
And then,
so
I guess another combo I'll talk about was Spiritomb. We didn't talk about this much, but this is actually a very good card. With this ability, Fettered and Misfortune, basic Pokemon V in play, both yours and your opponent have no abilities. This turns off a
mhm.
Genesect V. It also, well, I guess the one thing it turns off is Slacking V, which can attack on even prize turns, aka most of the game, if not the whole game, with many decks.
Hmm.
But and then it can do 260 for 4 colorless. So you can now play that with Spiritomb to have like options there, which is kind of interesting. It's just like a fun little combo.
Yeah, I'm just trying to look at there's like Urshifu and Teleon has gotten a few plays and gotten quite good results. I'm trying to see if they had played anything new in that to talk about. Plays Spiritomb in this one list, so
Yeah. Do you think
uh,
Spiritomb's good, or do you think it's not worth playing? Oh, and it also plays 4 Iono, which is cool. But do you think Spiritomb's like
yeah.
good or not?
I mean, I guess it's there largely right for the Mew matchup. I guess if you're worried about
Yeah, and
that.
it does turn off Luminion as well, which can definitely be useful. But I don't know. I think it's
Right.
okay. You seem like when I talked to you about it before, and you said you seem to think it wasn't very good.
I'm not thrilled about it. I don't love it, I gotta say. The Mimikyu that's immune to Vs and EXs, I think that's a more interesting card, I gotta say. That
Uh,
is that they
yeah,
named the right card? I mean,
yeah. You named the right one. So I think I think honestly playing it in Lost Zone is good. So, um, yeah.
Yeah. So there's not much happening. Oh, this one plays a Squawkabilly in the Urshifu deck,
Yeah,
but
but
nothing too exciting.
yeah, I think that's all we have for today.
Yep.
Actually, there's one other deck under other. Do you want to talk about the Tinkaton deck?
Sure.
Okay, so it's the second deck under other with Tinkaton EX, which is a bit of a weird card because it's kind of hard to find. And we see it running Milotic, but Tinkaton which Milotic stops you from essentially getting Ionoed. But Tinkaton EX or judged. Tinkaton EX
mhm,
has an attack that says it does for 2 colors on a stage 2, only 300 HP, which is kind of low for a stage 2 EX, but it does 30
mhm.
for each card in your hand. So that's obviously can get up to very big numbers. And then you have the Tinkaton, same thing as the Hisuian Samurott. You discard a card to draw 3. And pretty much you just go ahead and do as much damage as you can with Tinkaton EX and start destroying stuff. We see Rotom V to draw more. Stuff like Colorless Experiment and things like that, just to add cards to your hand. And then, of course, the Tinkaton EX and Tinkaton evolve from the same line, so that's kind of interesting.
Right.
But I don't know. I think this deck's kind of okay. It's not amazing. I don't know why it doesn't have its own category. It feels like it should, but
Well,
it's cool.
it might have been played like once or
I think it
twice,
was played
probably at this point.
twice, but a lot of the other decks were also played twice. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's been
I mean,
played
they
more
have to
than
make.
that.
I don't know how they make their decisions. We'll see. I think it's pretty intriguing. I gotta say, it's an appealing deck. You have reversal energy that you can power up your attack. No, you can't. Sorry, again, it's a rule box. Take that back. But it is what a a double turbo, and when psychic pays the thing. Be able to hit through effects is also important. I think. I think at some point we'll see, like back several years ago when Decidueye was dangerous, the Mimikyu is going to be dangerous, right? At times you're going to want something to hit through effects, I think. So
Yeah,
I do that, I got to say. And obviously the EX and the regular stage 2 pair nicely together. So, it's an interesting deck for sure. And yeah, the Milotic so you don't get Ionoed or judged, so you keep your hand size. It's definitely something I'd like to try out. Now, this one is only a special root card release, right?
yeah.
So it may cost more to craft. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I don't know how you like get it. It came out in some other deck, which might actually be on live. I don't really know. Um, yeah,
It was in some box or something, right?
yeah, it's in like
Yeah,
a deck. But yeah, it's kind of weird. Anyway, so I think that's about it. Yeah, live is out of beta. Paldea Evolved is here too, so that's
right.
cool. I've been actually enjoying it, like messing around. I've honestly been super busy, like making content, and
Hmm.
just in life. So I haven't gotten as much chance to play it as I would have liked, but I've still been playing it a bunch. But I hope you enjoyed the podcast. I've been 10 Types, joined by Uncommon Fossil.
Yep, that's me. And yeah, it has been fun. Paldea Evolved, whether it's like the best expansion ever, I'm not sure, but it's definitely breathing life into the meta for sure.
Yeah. So check us out on, of course, YouTube. That's like the main platform we're on. So you can subscribe to us there, comment as well. Anything that's nice. On both 10 Types and Uncommon Fossil, either one of us could answer.
Yep.
Obviously, the person whose channel it is probably going to be the one to answer. But and then you can also check us out on podcasting platforms, including Spotify. We are in fact very close to getting monetized on Spotify, which I know sounds crazy because it kind of is, and we're probably not going to actually make any money. But yeah, that's the thing. So yeah, we hope you enjoyed, and we're excited to see you next time.
Take care.